Welcome back to the Week 11 college football betting locks and game predictions. And let's get right into it with a recap of last week. We had another successful week winning 2.4 units. So I'm going to emphasize everyone to subscribe to the video. We're up 7.8 units on the season, and we'll look to continue our little streak here in this week. But let's start with the recap. A couple early Tuesday locks. We had UTEP plus 10 in the hook. That one fails to get through for us, as does Texas State plus 7. Another middle of the week game, we added Coastal plus 6. They end up winning that game outright. Couldn't believe that Purdue was 21.5-point dogs against Michigan. Michigan just hasn't really put up that many points. Now they're down a running back. Purdue easily stays within the mark, but Michigan does get the win in that one. Ohio State takes care of business against Penn State. We were right there. Vandy comes back late against Texas with, the aid of some officials and some weakness from that Texas defensive back core, but it wasn't enough. They do end up losing by 3, so depending on what number you got, that could have been a Vandy cover for some of you. There were ways to play both sides of the line if you were on it throughout the week, but really a dominant performance by Texas. Ewers gets right, and I think that this improvement by Ewers is sustainable, but I did not like that DB play that I saw. We'll see what happens going forward, but a lot more constructive on Texas's offense after that game. Shocking upset with SMU beating Miami outright. Miami looked a little checked out there. You've kind of seen this with these Mario Cristobal teams where they kind of collapse down the stretch. Hopefully this was just a blip. I like the spot for SMU. Obviously they cover the 10 in the hook there. Next page, Georgia Tech shocking defeated NC State. The defense just doesn't work. Haynes King can only do so much, and you score in the mid-40s and lose. Just brutal there. Oklahoma ends up winning outright against Tennessee. Tennessee played a great first half, but Oklahoma had all the luck in the first half and then kind of pushes on the gas pedal, ends up winning outright. Oklahoma not out of this thing yet. We'll see what they can do down the stretch of the season. West Virginia beats Houston outright in that football game there. USC able to go into Nebraska, come back. Raiola gets injured. Maihava did not look great at all, but USC was able to run the ball efficiently and ended up escaping with the win there in the blackout in that game. Air Force fails to cover against Army in that one. North Texas able to get the win in Denton there in a big American matchup. Navy now heads to Notre Dame this week. We will be previewing that one in a couple minutes here. New Mexico plus 5 in the hook against UNLV. They end up winning outright in one of the bigger Mountain West games there. It's going to be kind of a brawl down the stretch in the Mountain West here. Cal, brutal beat for us here. Get the stop on Virginia, but then the pick 6 and the defender doesn't go down. Just brutal bad beat there for us. Kansas State also unable to get home against Texas Tech. Just a flurry of turnovers. Kansas State was kind of hot coming into this game. Had won 3 of 4 and were close in the other one, but just not enough. Texas Tech pushed down the pedal, a little turnover luck. So a little bit of a frustrating one there. Another game we had, UTSA against Tulane. UTSA does cover for us in that one there. Georgia against Florida. Florida plus 7 in the hook. Does end up getting there. Stockton does the right thing going down before the goal line. You could see maybe that's the other end of the regression for what happened in the Cal game. So maybe it all evens out there, but Florida does get home for us. Iowa State is just falling off the wagon here. Arizona State able to win that one in Big 12 play. I admitted to you guys last week that I'm not seeing the ball well on some of these Big 12 games where we're not taking a betting lock, and that game was just that. So Arizona State gets the win there. Utah against Cincy. We liked Utah. They end up winning big there in Rice Eccles. Utah's playing great football. I think they might be the favorite at this point to win the Big 12. We'll see what happens, but I think they've improved massively over the course of this season. Rutgers against Illinois, it was just not enough from Rutgers. Illinois wins big in that one and covers our number. Mississippi State also a little bit fortunate for us. Ends up winning that football game outright there. And Indiana against Maryland. I am going to make a resolution to stop betting these big numbers against Indiana because they just end up going on another gear against these bad teams and just running up the score. It's wild. Maybe we will bet against them against the next good team that they play, maybe in Ohio State. But we'll see what happens. I'm tired of betting against them with these crap teams and just getting their face ripped off by Indiana. because they just want to score. And it's ridiculous, and they're very efficient. So good on them. Big win there in College Park. We do not get home. And then another frustrating one was Washington State against Oregon State. Just a choke late, and then a missed close field goal to miss overtime, where I think Washington State would have had a good chance, but just a disgusting 10-7 game in that Pac-12 championship V1. So once again, plus 7.8 units on the year, have won a couple weeks in a row now, and we'll look to win again. Once again, subscribe to the channel to get the best lines of the week, as many of them move in our favor throughout the week. So let's start on Friday night. We've got Tulane and Memphis. These teams kind of making the round robin in the American. I think Tulane's a little overrated despite the bounce back here. I like Memphis to take this one at home on the Friday night. And then let's just go Mississippi State again. I love betting them at home, plus the big number. We highlighted earlier this season that Mississippi State had this boom or bust schedule where all of these tough games are at home. They played a lot of these teams tough so far, beat Arizona State, which turns out to not be that good, but took Texas to the wire, took Tennessee to the wire. I like them to do it again against a Georgia team that escaped late against Florida in that game. I like Mississippi State to stay dialed in and keep it close. This one is an earlier game, so that's definitely one factor that's not in our favor, but I think Mississippi State can keep it within the possession, maybe even win that one outright. We'll see. Georgia has just played a lot of close games this year. They're winning, so you can't fault them for that, but I like Mississippi State's offense to keep them in it here and keep that one close into the fourth. BYU against Texas Tech. I think BYU is due for a correction, and I think it's going to happen here in Lubbock. Big game here, game day, but Texas Tech, they look more efficient on just offense and defense here. I think I could see BYU getting a little bit of turnover regression here, throwing it away a couple times. This Texas Tech team is good at getting after the quarterback, so I like Texas Tech to get it done there. And then we've got Texas A&M against Missouri. Again, Missouri's still ranked, but quarterbackless. I like Texas A&M to win on the road. But we will see what happens there. Maybe you get a little life out of Missouri because they're not quite out of it yet with 2 losses, but we'll see what happens. Texas Tech obviously brandishing the undefeated record so far, but they've looked like a wagon, and I will take them to continue. I could see this spot being a little interesting there in Iowa for Oregon on the road here. They've got the look ahead. They've got 4 tough games left on the schedule, does Oregon. I'd like to see this line get above 7. It's 6 in the hook as I'm recording this right now. Then we might think about an Iowa play here. Iowa's been sneaking along, not bad at 6-2. I think that they can stop this Oregon offense just enough, keep it close, and then maybe some quarterback run to confuse the Oregon defense with Gronowski. So I like Iowa to keep it close. We're not putting a betting lock on it right now because I don't like the number, and I don't know if we'll ever see the 7. But I will note that I like this to be a competitive, lower scoring game, but I think Oregon does end up taking that one on the road. And then a little rare out-of-conference game for Duke here late in the season, but I like UConn plus 10. Why is Duke traveling here in this spot? I'm not sure, but I do like this number. I think that Duke is a little overvalued, maybe some value on UConn here, so I like them to keep it close at home there in just kind of a lackadaisical travel spot for Duke there. Wake Forest at Virginia, I like Virginia to win, but again, some of these teams in the ACC, just wild things can happen, so keep an eye on that one. I do like the Cavs to win there at home, but I could see that one being a little bit of a nail-biter in the fourth. LSU against Bama, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what they have here, but I like Bama to win this. I think that some of the LSU flaws are just not going to go away despite the regime change. I think they might show a little fight early. It's a rivalry game, so you always expect it, but I think this Bama O-line will just have their way with LSU here, and the LSU offense, I'm not expecting much improvement out of them. I think Alabama wins easy at home there. And then Navy Notre Dame, I like a little correction spot on the power rating. I think Notre Dame's a little high here, and Navy on the bounce back, obviously on the road yet again for them. I think they can muddy down this game a little bit. Notre Dame's defense isn't great, but I like the spot here for Navy, and I think they'll lose by something in the mid-teens. I think Notre Dame wins this game. But I keep an eye on it. We'll bet the plus 24 in the hook. Take the candy, a little bit of a hold your nose spot, and hope for just kind of a muddied up game there. And I think Navy can come within the number in that game there. And then SMU at Boston College, like the spot here for BC. Obviously, putrid 1-8 record, but this is the red bandana game. They like to play up to their competition. We've always liked this spot, getting SMU on the road after a huge win. We think they take the eye off the ball a little bit. I think SMU does win this game, but BC loses by less than that inflated number in our view, especially at home in the environment in what you could call maybe their Super Bowl for the rest of the season here, given opponent. And then we've got a couple more betting locks later in the day here. Auburn at Vandy. We'll take Auburn +7 in the hook. Both of these teams are on the bounce back, but I think Vandy's late comeback is inflating this number a little bit. Obviously, Free's gone at Auburn, but I think this Auburn team is very good. We just need the officiating to just be regular here. And I think Auburn can easily stay within this number. I think Vandy does win the game, but maybe on a late field goal. But I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn is in this thing late and even gives Vandy a big scare here. Obviously, you expect Vandy to win this on the bounce back, but I think some Auburn fans make the trip up to Vanderbilt here, and I think that they stay within the number. Obviously, the O-line has to play better for Auburn. You say that every week. Control the turnovers and just focus on the task at hand there. They're good at getting after the quarterback, and this defense is, if they're still checked in, then it'll be tough sledding for Vandy. That's what I'm banking on happening here, so I like Auburn +7 in the hook there. Florida State at Clemson. Not sure how Florida State is getting points here. Clemson obviously coming off the brutal loss last week against Duke. I like Florida State to just do enough here. Again, going into the season, this was a top 10 matchup, so you hate to see it like this, but Death Valley just clearly hasn't been difficult for some of these bigger teams this year. I like Florida State to win this game outright. We'll lock them in +2 in the hook there. And then keep an eye on this one late in the Mountain West. San Diego State kind of making a run here, now 7-1 in conference play. I like them to win at Hawaii, but the spread is within a touchdown. Could see this one being closer, maybe a dark horse candidate for one of those, that group of 5 playoff spot. San Diego State here, keep an eye out there. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and comment your predictions below.